Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of New York State of Sports, episode number 19. It's a celebratory weekend in New York City. Ricky Keeler back with you. The Rangers have swept the Capitals and are on to round two. The Islanders have still a small chance at round two as they win a double overtime classic with the Hurricanes. And the Knicks, behind one of the best playoff performances, if not the best playoff performance in franchise history, defeat the Sixers in Game 4 and are one win from the second round. We have so much to talk about that I've got a special guest coming on. It's Adam Karnik from Chi-Town Weekly and the Neutral Zone. We're going to break it all down. Coming up next here on New York State of Sports. We'll see you in a minute. I want to remind you, you can follow me on X at Rickinator555. You can follow the show on Twitter or X at NY State Sports IE. If you're loving the postgame show, sending a question throughout Rangers round 2, maybe even Knicks round 2. If that does happen, you can email me, rickjkeeler@gmail.com. I'm happy to hear from you. We have a fantastic show. Very great weekend. The Yankees won 2 out of 3. The Mets won in walk-off fashion on Sunday. The draft, and we'll dive into all that Thursday. But got a special guest coming up for you. It's going to be a lot of fun. He's the host of Chi-Town Weekly, so he's happy with all his new Bears players he gets to talk about. We're also hosting the Neutral Zone throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. Adam Karnik is here. Adam, how are you? And welcome to New York State of Sports.
Oh, thank you for having me, Ricky. I appreciate it. I'm doing very well. It was a busy weekend, but I enjoyed it. I imagine not as much, though, as people in New York are enjoying it right now.
So the Rangers, the first team to clinch a playoff spot. It only makes sense for the first team to sweep and get into the second round. The only sweep of the Stanley Cup playoffs. First time the Rangers have swept since 2007 against the Atlanta Thrashers, which was the Danny Heatley, Ilya Kovalchuk days, because that's the only Thrashers I seem to remember off the top of my head. But it's also the fourth time they've done it in franchise history. And Adam, I think you look at this Capitals team, to me, they put up a good fight. These games were not blowouts outside of game 1 by any means necessary. It's just the Rangers had more firepower, and the Capitals the Rangers just did a good job of taking out of the series.
Oh yeah, this was an ideal first round matchup for the Rangers. Just in every way possible against the Capitals, the Rangers had the advantage. They had the advantage, of course, in net with Shesterkin. They had the advantage of the offense, Artemi Panarin and Chris Kreider, and the power play unit that was just so effective all series long. They had the advantage defensively. They had the advantage on the penalty killing unit. They had the advantage in youth. Just every imaginable advantage you could give the Rangers, they had it over the Capitals, and it played out over this series.
Yeah, when you think about it, you look at the mistake the Capitals made early, and I think this was a big game for the Rangers tonight, especially coming off of the Hurricanes losing Game 4, which we'll dive into later, because now the Rangers get that extra rest. Carolina's got to play Tuesday, and I was looking up a stat that I saw somebody post on X from 2 years ago, that the Rangers played 20 playoff games in 40 days. They're not going to have that problem now, and the problem they've had over the course of the last decade is they get in these long, drawn-out first-round series, and they just run out of gas. And now you would think, with the West not having any sweeps either, they could potentially get a whole week off before they even take the ice again.
Yeah, and this is a little unusual for the Rangers that they get to have serious time off. I mean, you look at the original calendar had this series with the Capitals gone the distance, Game 7 would have been a week from tonight. So yeah, they are getting some nice time off. And one thing that the NHL won't do is they will not start the second round until every second round match is ready to go. Now that could be quickly, because I mean, you look in the East, Boston is up 3-1 on Toronto. Florida is up 3-1 on Tampa. Carolina is up 3-1 on the Islanders. Vancouver over in the West, they won in crazy fashion earlier today against the Predators, so they're now up 3-1. Colorado jumped up 3-1 on Winnipeg. So there are several series that it's looking like could close. So it could be fairly soon. But yeah, on the other hand, it could be several days. It could be upwards of a week before the Rangers take the ice again. That can be that if you let it, that can be a detriment. You've got to be careful how you practice during these. You don't want to go too hard, but you also don't want to completely avoid the ice for 7 days either. So that'll be an interesting thing to navigate for the Rangers. But you talk about first world problems. That is a first world problem right there.
And we'll get into the whole impact of that in a little while, because it can at least help the Rangers in getting a potential key piece of their team back without having to worry about adjustments mid-series and things of that nature. But let's dive into Game 4. I mentioned Capo Caco with the goal 57 seconds in, and you would think this was a night, Adam, where the Capitals, obviously they don't want to get swept. They're going to bring their A game. And for the Rangers to get a goal the first minute in, and maybe not take their heart and soul out, but maybe either heart or soul, to get up 1-0 right out of the chute, even though the Capitals ended up tying it twice, the fact that the Rangers could get ahead when they're used to playing from behind and they win a lot from behind had to be a big mental hurdle for the Capitals to try to get over.
Yeah, the Rangers had started from behind in what, each of the first three games or several of the first three games anyway. So yeah, to be able to just jump out basically from opening face-off and just start the game 1-0, it definitely took energy out of the building there in DC tonight. But give the Capitals credit, they didn't fold, but it definitely took the wind out of their sails when you're starting effectively 1-0 right out of the gate.
And Martin Ferrari gets the goal 14:54 into the first period to tie it, his second of the postseason. And then right before the end of the first, Capitals take a penalty on Tom Wilson for tripping or Nick Jensen for tripping Adam Fox. It leads to the power play goal by Vinny Trocheck, third of the postseason for him, makes it 2-1. Right at the end of the period, this is a Ranger team that loves playing the power play. Both these teams do, Adam. But when you give this Ranger team a power play, especially with the guys they have on that top line, and we'll get to Panarin, who ultimately got the game-winning goal on a power play, there's just too many weapons to stop if you give the Rangers a man advantage.
Oh, yeah, you do not want to make a living of playing a man down against anybody in the playoffs, but the Rangers are definitely one of those teams where, you know, Trocheck, Panarin are two lethal snipers on the power play that will make you pay if you continue to play a man down. And that, combined with it being late in the period, the worst times to give up goals are in the first 2 minutes of a period and in the last 2 minutes of a period. And the Rangers had both in this game in the first period tonight. That's really hard from a mental standpoint to overcome and make up there when you're starting the game off with a goal and you're finishing the period by giving up a goal. It's just a really sour mood going into the locker room there if you're the Capitals. Conversely, if you're the Rangers, man, that's as exciting as it gets, going into the locker room having just scored. You're all juiced up, you're jacked up, you're ready to get right back out on the ice right then and there on the spot. Who needs an intermission at that point?
Exactly. So they take the lead, go into the second, and the Capitals, I thought, Adam, controlled the entire second, most if not the whole second period. Rangers seemed to play on their heels. Shesterkin made some big saves. But then LaPierre gets the goal to tie it too. And I'm going into the third period thinking, all right, Capitals seem to have the momentum. Rangers can't afford to give up that goal in the third period and allow Washington to get hope going to a game 5. But I saw from the neutral zone account that the fact that Washington only tied it after the second seemed to be a win for the Rangers, if I read that correctly.
I was definitely feeling that way. Yeah, when I was watching the second period, it was Washington absolutely dominated that period. It was either their best period of the game, probably their best period of the entire series to that point. But at the same time, all they could do was come away tied. They did tie it. You'd give them credit for that. LaPierre, a nice goal, a nice job on the goal too of not just getting off the initial shot, but collecting his own loose change. That was a rebound that Shesterkin absolutely would have loved to have corralled. You know, if he corrals that initial shot and just absorbs it into his chest, then that goal never happens. But instead, LaPierre is able to collect his own loose change and find the back of the net with it. But the feeling I had going into the second intermission was Washington basically emptied the tank in that period, and obviously they were going to need a third period, yet if for no other reason than they weren't in the lead. And I was very curious to see what then the Capitals would have left in the tank for the third period. And then then the third period just started perfectly for the Rangers. You couldn't have asked for a better start to that third period. And so that gave me the answer to the question very quickly then.
Yeah, basically Oshie gets the penalty for the high stick. I tweet on NY State Sports IE, this has to be the break. The Rangers get the goal. Not even seconds into the power play. Fox, Zibanejad, Panarin, boom, 3-2. Panarin gets his second of the postseason. Roslovic adds the empty netter later, also on the power play. Once the Capitals took that penalty with 4 minutes to go, you got the sense like that was it, because they were trying to balance taking Lindgren out, but then also making sure they got the possession. It was very complicated. I think, Adam, this is a big series for Artemi Panarin. Not only does he get the 2 goals, but just the amount of physicality he played with, going back to game 2 with the stuff with TJ Oshie, making that hit, kind of showing the criticisms from last year against the Devils, where he was very finesse but didn't get a lot of shots on goal and wasn't willing to get into the scrums on a lot of things. This was maybe not the narrative-changing series for him, because obviously the Rangers hope to go deeper than this, but definitely goes a step in the right direction for him.
Yeah, I mean, Panarin throughout his career has been known as a playmaker, has been known as a little bit of a finesse guy. And so if he's able to add some physicality, and we did see some of that from him in the series, you brought up the scrum with Oshie. If he's able to genuinely make that not necessarily the first tool that he reaches for in the toolbox, but one that he's now comfortable using, man, that can open up so much stuff for him. You're talking about, the greasy goals, or the in tight, loose change and just scramble for the puck kind of stuff, that when you think Artemi Panarin, that's not what you think of. You think more of that power play goal he had tonight, where, my goodness, that was just a clinic of how to control the puck and understand it. It was, first of all, it was controlling the puck, understanding how to get the puck to open space to your teammates. But then it was also just textbook how to move without the puck, watching Panarin on that, where he makes the pass, but then goes all the way behind the goal and comes back around. And the Capitals lost him in the way the puck was moving, and how he kind of momentarily took himself out of the play just so that he could come back into it. That was textbook Artemi Panarin. But then if he's able to add some of the more dirty's not the right word, but the ugly goals, the ugly parts of it into it, man, that could really turn it on for him. Absolutely.
So the Rangers sealed the deal in their trip to round 2, and you could seal the deal with Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitation, you're looking for the extra special touch. Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or friend and you want to add their smile when they receive it. And seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps, your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. Follow on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps or on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals. So let's get into where I think the Rangers, Adam, can benefit from this semi-long layoff they're going to have. And to me, that's the addition of Filipino, who's been practicing with the team, didn't get into this series, even though you had Adam Wenberg have the maintenance day in practice, got back in. Having Hedel in for a potential second round, and right now it looks like Carolina, but we'll get into that in a minute. How do you think they'll slowly put Hedel back into the mix if and when they do?
Yeah, you've got to listen to the player. You've got to be listening to your medical staff on things like that. But having this extra time, they can afford to get him out there, let him skate around, let him see how comfortable he's feeling. Because obviously you're now not in a position where you're having to play another game on Tuesday night. You're not having to turn around and play another game on Friday night. You can afford to have some skate arounds and some practice. So I would expect them to get everybody on the ice and go through some tests. And then, oh man, obviously everybody's a little banged up this time of year, but when you're adding your depth pieces back in, you're getting yourself back to full strength. That can make such a huge difference in the later rounds of this tournament as other teams are going into 5, 6, 7 game series, and you're sitting there and, hey, we're just doing skate arounds. That can be so huge on the back end.
No, I absolutely agree, but I think at the same time, what stands about the Rangers in this series as a whole is everybody's contributing. They're not having to rely on Hedel to be that difference maker. It was Barclay Goodrow with shorthanded goals. Keandre Miller got a shorthanded goal in this series. The Zibanejad's been getting points every game. Panarin, Trocheck, Kreider, Roslovic's got a pair of goals. Every part of their line, Jimmy Vesey had a goal in this series. Everybody's contributing in some way. And if they're not relying on one line to get it done. You had the fourth line in game 1, the top 2 lines in game 2. You don't want to break up those lines. But at the same time, if you do happen to break up a line or two, this is a Ranger team that can go 4 lines deep and kind of make up for that adjustment over a long series.
Yeah, and anymore in the playoffs, you have to be able to roll 4 lines. You've got to be able to have that. It's not the hockey from 30 or 40 years ago where it was your top 2 lines handled the scoring and your third and fourth lines handled all the checking. It's, you've got to be able to roll those. Your third line's got to be able to score. Your fourth line's got to be able to score. So yeah, having the depth in there and having guys that are comfortable playing with each other. And let's face it, at this point in the season, you've played 82, you've now played 86 regular season and postseason games together. You are feeling comfortable, and even if you do have to shake things up, you've got your communication. That's the big thing when you're changing lines, is you want to make sure that the guys are communicating properly, that everybody knows, hey, when the center zags, the right wing zags, or when he gets set up in the high slot, I crash down into the low area. So long as everybody's got their communication down, the lines themselves, that'll take care of itself, because they've played so many games together at this point.
The communication's the key, and you look at the team defense, the fact that the Rangers are now the first team to hold Alex Ovechkin without a single point in a 4-game series. Talk about, it doesn't matter what stage of the career Ovechkin's at, to do that is absolutely remarkable. Before we dive into the Islanders and look ahead to Carolina potentially, what'd you make of Shesterkin in this series? Didn't really have to stand in his head too much, but overall, I would say a nice solid series. Nothing you had to worry about with him.
Absolutely. Oh, Shesterkin, he kept him alive in game 3, absolutely made some phenomenal saves there in game 3. And in tonight, in the second period when Washington was in control for so much of that period, Shesterkin made some amazing saves. The breakaway on there was a Rangers power play early in the second period tonight where the Capitals wound up getting a shorthanded breakaway, and Panarin had to give up defensively on the play because he knew that if he continued to press, he would get drawn for a penalty, and it very possibly could have been a penalty shot in that moment. So he had to back off, and Shesterkin made a terrific save to make sure that at the time the Rangers held on to a 2-1 lead. Obviously, anytime you're replacing somebody like King Henrique, there's always going to be some extra added weight there when you're taking over for a legend. And I don't know if Rangers fans are all the way there yet, but I think Shesterkin is absolutely filling those shoes and is absolutely being the reason that the Rangers can get through any. There's not a single series where you feel like the Rangers can't win as long as Shesterkin's between the pipes, because he's just playing that well as a goalie.
Yeah, I think for Igor to get in the Lundqvist conversation, I think he's got to get to a cup final, at least in this town. But considering the struggles he had to go into the All-Star break and the way the Rangers have essentially dominated since that All-Star break, outside of that rough stretch before the end of the season, he's kind of developed into his own. I think having Jonathan Quick has been a major help for him as that veteran behind him to kind of give him the eyes and ears without threatening his job. In a sense, that's also been a big help, and Quick was able to spell him in the second half to a degree. It's only going to go a long way to better their team's chances of making that deep run because of all he's able to do with, and the fact that the less stress that he's had in this series, which I talked about earlier, the fact that they don't play as many games, I think is going to give him a lot of stamina going forward. But let's take our first break. We'll come back and we will talk Islanders. Not the best series for them, but they're still alive. You're listening to New York State of Sports and IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all their sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Karnik.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the '08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies,
And your one-timers,
you wicked wristas.
and be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Now, regardless of whether Varlamov is the latest trending vodka, I do know he's the latest trending goaltender in Long Island after Patrick Waugh talked about going to the Ferrari and Ilya Sorokin laying a major egg in Game 3. But the Islanders are still alive, so we still get to talk about them. And before we do that, we want to remind you, for the last 9+ years, IE Sports Radio has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com, for sports news, the IE Sports Radio blog, which had our mock draft results. Neither of us won, unfortunately. Our Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page dedicated to each podcast, our IE Sports Radio community forum. Stop by the shop and check out some merch. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio direct feed for all those sports. Shout out to the Yins Report, Ralph, by the way, for winning that contest. So Adam, we go to the Islanders. And before we talk about, I think even though the Islanders are still going to lose this series, the fact that they get a classic moment like they did Saturday is something to be proud of. What did you make of Patrick Waugh going to Ilya Sorokin in Game 3, who has the big contract, hasn't necessarily lived up to the big contract? I get they need to do it for a change of pace, but I think it yielded the absolute worst results possible.
Yeah, actually, so real quick, you brought up the joke that we make in the drop there about Varlamov. I was inspired that there actually was a friend of mine who's a big hockey fan, who is an Avs fan, and Varlamov, of course, spent a very long time being the netminder in Colorado, and my friend actually made his own concoction that he referred to as a Varlamov, and he would drink one every time the Avalanche won during the season. So there's the little in-joke there of whether or not Varlamov's a goalie or a drink. The correct answer is actually both. But as for the Islanders, this has been such a rough series for them. And yeah, you get through the first couple of games there, and you think, okay, we lost 3-1 in Game 1, and then Game 2, not only did you lose 5-3, but the way you lost, where you were ahead by a goal with just a couple of minutes left to go, and then a mere 10 seconds later, you're now down a goal. That can be incredibly deflating. And so for Coach Waugh, I made the comment afterwards, after that one, where it was, you're really going to see what Patrick Waugh can do as a coach, not only with having to deal with the team having lost that game, but now you've got the extra day of rest in between Game 2 and 3, which that can, if you use it correctly, it can work in your favor. If you don't use it correctly, it can completely deflate you, because it gives you an extra day to think about everything that went wrong in that 9-second stretch there. And Waugh decided to come out and make a change in net. And all right, he was a world-class goalie as a player. So you want to kind of give him the benefit of the doubt of, all right, he's got a feel for this. He feels that that the time is now, if there ever was one, to make a change. And it absolutely just blew up in his face. Sorkin looked so bad in Game 3. And that was a game that, when you're down 0-2 and you're coming home, that Game 3 is so crucial and so vital. That is that is a game you've got to take generally in any series. It's all right. We lost on the road. All right, fine. We knew that was going to happen, but now we got to come into our building and we've got to be able to defend our building. And the I always want to jokingly refer to it as the USB port that the Islanders play in their UBS arena, where you want to feel good and you have the crowd on you. And then the game started and immediately they were down. It was just, within the first 5 minutes of the game, they've given up a goal. Within the first 10 minutes, they've given up 2, and Sorokin just looked so rusty. So I can understand where Patrick Waugh was coming from with the decision, but it absolutely blew up in his face in Game 3 in that one.
Yeah, because it's a bit of weird series because you take Game 2 out of it, which again, it's hard to, but it's a game where the Islanders led 3-0 and never really felt like they were in control at all. If you look at the shots on goal, and we've talked about that ad nauseum the last couple of shows. But you go back to last year in the playoffs, and these two teams seem to play 1-goal games with each other constantly. So but the Islanders just never seem to get on the other side, and that's, I think, something. It's something Rod Brindamore seems to stifle them with. Carolina obviously is much faster, and I think they've got as much depth as you can with adding Jake Gensel. The deadline has helped them, and a team that knows how to win. I don't know if this Islander team has necessarily figured out how to get over that hurdle yet, or it's just this team. Because the difference, Adam, in hockey compared to other sports is you can't build a team that's going to beat Carolina as much as you would like to, because you don't know if you're going to face Carolina every year. They just have the unfortunate draw of seemingly getting them in the postseason every time they get there.
Yeah, be very leery of building your team around defeating one particular opponent, because just like you said, there's no guarantee you're going to get that opponent, whoever it is. At the same time, when Carolina is so good at playing puck possession, they're in Carolina for years, the Hurricanes defense has been, well, we're simply just going to play offense. You can't score if you can't score against us if you don't have the puck. That's been their mentality for years, and they have mastered that strategy so well. So the Islanders, to their credit, especially in Game 2, when they had the puck, they were taking advantage of it. They were making the most out of the opportunities they had. It just, they took their foot off the gas too early in Game 2. The giving up a goal late in the second period was huge. Now Game 4, that was, you were seeing desperation from the Islanders. They did not want to get knocked out at home in that setting, and you wound up, that was a thriller. That was one of the most exciting games we've had of the play. Anytime you go to overtime in hockey in the playoffs, it's just edge of your seat, because at any given second the game is going to end. It's one of only a couple of sports where you have that. Man, just literally any second we could see it end right here, right now, and any weird hop or weird bounce could be huge. And then you get into double overtime. Oh, it's just all that gets intensified. So a great job by the Islanders to take Game 4, and especially with giving up a tying goal late on a power play. That can be a backbreaker heading into overtime. Again, that you don't want to give up a goal late. You don't want to give up a goal early. You don't want to give up a goal late in a period if you can at all help it. So a nice job by the Islanders to recover and take Game 4. But at what cost? How much energy did they expend as a team? They had to play a ton of defense in Game 4. Varlamov had to face 44 shots. They had to defend way too many power play opportunities. 12 penalty minutes on the Islanders in Game 4. That's a lot. That takes a lot out of you. Now, they had some extra time, again, as they were changing cities and changing venues, going back to Carolina. So they've got a chance to build some of that back. But we'll see how much. I mean, Carolina's still playing with house money. The Hurricanes know they can drop this one, and still they have 2 opportunities to take this series. The Islanders have got to have this one. And you've got to not only take this one, but you're going to have to come back to Carolina if you're going to take this series. That can be very physically and mentally draining on a team. So it's going to be interesting to see how this next game starts for them on Tuesday night.
Basically, the game starts off rough for the Islanders. Jarvis gets the goal. 8 minutes into the first, gives them a 1-0 lead. Islanders answer back in the second period about halfway through. Matt Barzal ties it with his first. Then you have Pajot to start the third on the power play. Islanders have had a rough go on the power play. It seems against Carolina. They break through, take the lead. Nosen ties it inside 6 minutes to go on the power play. Then obviously Barzal wins it in double OT. As Adam mentioned, Carolina outshot the Islanders 44-35. Islanders had the 12 penalty minutes. I think what does help the Islanders here is they did win almost 68% of the faceoffs, which could lead to maybe that carries over into Game 5. I think it also helps that Game 5 is Tuesday. We talk about the 2 days rest between 2 and 3 to kind of take that Game 2 away. You now have that 2 days off to rest after taking all those shots and make Carolina think about it a little bit, like the Rangers would have had if they had lost. Game 5 would have been Wednesday at the Garden because the Knicks obviously using it on Tuesday. So having that time to think does give them a slight shot.
Yeah, that was really good bringing up the faceoffs. Yeah, that was a huge advantage for the Islanders overall. Winning 2 out of every 3 draws, especially when you're facing a team like Carolina, you have got to win at the faceoff dot in order to prevent them from just playing keep away from you all night long. That's going to be harder to do on the road, though. And you look at the game 1 and 2 stats, and both of those, it was the Hurricanes won 59% of the draws. The Islanders only won 41, and that's directly due to being at home. When you're on the road, not only do you have to put your change out first. When you're home ice, you get the advantage of the last change. You can see what line the road team is putting out there, and then put whatever line you want there to match up well. So let's say you've got somebody that matches up really well on the faceoff dot against that particular line. You can roll them out there. It's also when you're going to win the faceoff, the visiting centerman must put his stick on the ice first and kind of present how he's going to try to win that faceoff dot. So how he's going to try to win that particular draw. So it's a lot harder to have that winning percentage in the faceoff dot when you're on the road versus at home. So it'll be really interesting to see if the Islanders can still have that advantage, because you're right. They absolutely have to have that if they're going to win. They've got to take well over 50% of the draws in order to have a fighting chance on Tuesday night in Game 5.
Really quickly at the Islanders, Matt Barzal has said with 2 goals, is this the game that maybe gets his postseason going a little bit, that people are looking for more scoring from him? Maybe this sparks something?
Hey, weirder things have happened. Yeah, you score a game winner in a playoff game, and especially if it's in overtime, you want to talk about taking the monkey off your back. That can do that for you, where all of a sudden you are energized, you are king of the world. So yeah, absolutely. And for the Islanders, they'd love nothing else than for Barzal to start doing that and start producing in that way. Absolutely.
So we'll not have you make a pick, obviously, because we don't know what the matchup is. If the Rangers do play Carolina, how do you see that series?
Ooh, that's going to be a good series. Yeah, if it's Carolina, ooh, that's going to be a good one, because obviously you've got Carolina's keep away puck possession style of play versus the Rangers, who are just going to fly up and down the ice very quickly. And Freddie Anderson is no slouch in net. You know, it's not like you're going to have a huge, as wide of an advantage there in net. I still will lean Rangers, but there's no way that's going to be a 4-game series. That one would definitely be a 6, maybe even go in the distance 7-game series there. It'd be very entertaining series.
Look, the fact of the matter is, and I know the system is what it is with the divisions, this should be a conference final. The fact that it's for a trip to the conference final, and I think if it ends up being Florida and Boston, they could say the same thing. Like, we truly would have the 4 best teams in the Eastern Conference battling for a trip to the Stanley Cup. But these two teams would have played best of 7 a couple years ago. Rangers won Game 7 on the road. Both these teams are good road teams in addition to good home teams. So that would make this a very compelling series. Let's take one more quick break. We will come right back, and we'll talk Knicks, who are 1 win away from going back to the second round after a historic performance from Jalen Brunson. We'll be right back after this.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Karnik, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
So we had to get Adam's second showing because, he's one of the busiest people on the network. Real quick, Adam, before I let you go, let's talk briefly about the Knicks. 97-92 victory. You mentioned Jalen Brunson, 47 points. Just an insane performance on a day where nobody was really doing anything for the Knicks in the first half. Hardenstein picks up 3 fouls in the third quarter. It looks like Philly's got the momentum. And for a series that has been crazy, a series that has been filled with tension, has been filled with a lot of officiating criticism. Is this the series that Jalen Brunson all of a sudden becomes... I know he's nationally known, but is this the Jalen Brunson game that maybe gets him a little bit more respect outside of New York?
You win in the playoffs, that will carry, that will reverberate, because that's when all the eyeballs are on you. That's when, the league and the majority of fans are focused on you. So yeah, you take a big playoff, you make your presence known in a playoff series. Oh yeah, that's absolutely can launch you into the next stardom. And what's a playoff series without officiating controversies, after all? I mean, come on. That's what makes it all fun, right?
I would, after Game 3, I don't think people want to tell Knicks fans that same thing, or Philly fans after Game 2. But what I love in this game, and we could talk about Brun's 47 points, 10 assists, 4 boards. The shooting has been much improved these last 2 games, even in the loss in Game 3. I know Kelly Oubre kind of took a shot at Brunson after the game, saying, well, he had 34 shots. I don't care how many shots you take. When you score almost 50 points in a Game 4 road win, most points in Knicks playoff history, when you consider all the legends that have come through the Garden. That is absolutely fantastic. But I'm going to give some love to the defense, too. OG Anunoby, I know he was 8 for 16 shooting, but 14 boards, 16 points. Precious Achiuwa gets 20 minutes, only 1 point, 7 boards, but he had great defense. Joel Embiid was silent in the fourth quarter. And I gave the point at him after game 3. I wanted the Knicks to, I won't say I don't want to get a goon out there to kind of push Embiid around, but I kind of gave the analogy that, maybe you want, if you're going to foul him, maybe make it known you're going to foul him, because it just seemed like, obviously everybody has said it's most likely should have been kicked out of game 3, and it seemed like every foul was ticky-tack foul. If you're going to foul him, just foul him. Like, you have a guy on the bench that could 6 fouls to give. Like, in a physical series like that, I'm kind of shocked that Knicks were not as physical in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're going to call it anyway, earn it. Go ahead and just earn it if you're going to get the foul anyway. And yeah, you almost want to. Let's throw the hockey analogy in there. You almost want an enforcer on Embiid, just to, if nothing else, just let him know that, hey, all right, yeah, you might get your 20 and 12, but by golly, you are going to earn every bit of that 20 and 12 while you're down here in the post. It's not going to be a walk in the park for you. And if you can have a couple guys that are, one guy for sure, but a couple guys that are willing to just, all right, it's my turn to pick up a couple. All right, it's your turn to pick up a couple. That's a way you can kind of negate him.
Joel Embiid, 27 points, 10 boards, 6 assists, but 7 of 19 shooting. He did get to the free throw line 14 times, but a little bit less than game 3. He made 12. Sixers got a little bit of more balanced scoring in this game, 23 from Maxey, but not his typical 30-point performance. Kelly Oubre gave him a nice production with 19, but Tobias Harris has been terrible. Philly's bench had 6 points. Miles McBride does it again with 13 off the bench in a game where Bogdanovich leaves the game early. You already have Mitchell Robinson out for this game. And on a day where Josh Hart gets 4 points, doesn't make a shot, yet has 17 boards, and a day where Dante DiVincenzo, another subpar game from him in terms of shooting, 3 for 11, 8 points. It's just amazing what this Knicks team continues to do, in that they can hold a team to 35% shooting, and it's not pretty the way they play. The Tom Thibodeau style isn't what people are used to outside of, well, you guys out in Chicago, but it just seems like, and to me, with this team, it feels like Tom Thibodeau's finally getting a reward, as opposed to, why do you play all these guys all the time? They should get some rest, yada, yada, yada. The grit you've seen in this series kind of personifies what a Thibodeau team is, don't you think?
I was just going to say, 35% from the floor. Wow, that's unusual. Not for Coach Thibodeau. It's not. That is, and I mean, that's, and everything you just said there of playing all the guys all the time, taking every game as if it is game 7 of the NBA Finals. That was what got Chicago to fall in love with Coach Thibodeau. And it's also what got Coach Thibodeau run out of town when the time came, because it was just the Bulls could wind up as the number 1 seed in the East, and then they were just out of gas by the time they'd get to the second or third round of the playoffs, because they'd played 82 game 7s during the regular season, and then actually playing playoff games, it just took everything out of them. But no, that is Thibodeau to a T, getting 100% effort out of every single guy, every single night. Did you say the Knicks only had 6 points off the bench?
No, 6. So the Sixers only had 6 points off the bench. Knicks had 14.
Sixers.
Yeah, Sixers had 6. The Knicks had 14, but 13 of them were from Miles McBride. So essentially, Miles McBride outscored the entire Sixers bench.
My good, you're not going to win very many games without getting something from your bench. Yeah, only 6 bench points. If I were wearing a cap, I would be doffing it right now to Coach Thibodeau and his staff for that. That is impressive.
It just speaks, again, what this team is. And people criticize the Knicks because they tried to win Game 82 and didn't try to get the tougher matchup. They criticize the Knicks because the Sixers have Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and they have the 2 stars in the series, and Knicks only have the 1 star. And it's just the camaraderie this team has shown throughout this entire series, and the series is far from over. Like, I'm not going to sit here and crown the Knicks the winners. They still have to play Game 5 on Tuesday at the Garden, and Philly's played them tough there. But with Embiid wearing down, clearly, you could see in the fourth quarters of these games he hasn't been there. And at times the Knicks are playing 5-on-2. They go back home where DiVincenzo's a better shooter, where Hart's a better shooter, where their role players play well. If the Knicks can finish this out in 5, it's got to make a statement nationally that, hey, this team is for real and could make a conference final run.
Absolutely. Now, it's still everything in the East still runs through Boston, though, right? It's you take them down, which that would be the second round matchup, right? Would be in the Garden in Boston.
No, actually. So if the Knicks win right now, because it's a 2-7, the 3-6 series, of course, being Indiana-Milwaukee, and Indiana's up 3-1, and that Game 5 Tuesday, Milwaukee. So both the teams that are ahead win it would be Pacers-Knicks.
Yeah, then you'd be feeling great if you're the Knicks going into that series, and that's absolutely, yeah. Yeah, because outside of Boston, the East is wide open. So, yeah, if you're the Knicks, you absolutely. There's no reason the Knicks should feel bad at all heading into a second round series. You get through Philly first, but that should absolutely you'd be feeling confident and, dare we say, cocky heading into that second round series. Absolutely.
Now, the one thing I would say, and again, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. I think this. I said Knicks in 6 going in. I'm hard pressed to believe after what happened Sunday that the Knicks are going to lose this game on Tuesday with all the energy and momentum. The crowd's going to be as hostile as ever, particularly toward Embiid. But Embiid loves that attention, so it's one of those things where he might thrive like Trae Young once did. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. I look at if it is Pacers, Knicks, Adam, and the one thing I say with Indiana, they're great offensively, but you're going up against a Tibbs defense, and the Pacers don't play defense. You look at a team, they played the Bucks, and without Giannis, Lillard, Bobby Portis gets thrown out. Pacers hit 22 threes in Game 4. They still only win 126-113. They allow Brook Lopez 27, Chris Middleton 25, Malik Beasley 20. For a Buck team to do that without its top 2 stars and then one of its key role players, the Knicks could do that with the team group that they have. It's just a matter of Indiana's physicality, I think, would be the one issue.
Yeah, absolutely. The Knicks definitely should, from a defensive standpoint, should absolutely be winning that matchup and in that regard. And then it's just out shooting them a little bit at that point. But yeah, they should not be worried about having a hard time scoring against the Pacers. The Pacers have struggled as you pointed out, the Pacers have struggled defensively all season. The Bulls would routinely have some of their best offensive nights playing against the Pacers, but a fat lot of good that did them.
So like I said, Game 5 right now scheduled for Tuesday. No time listed yet because the other 2, as we record this, the other 2 East series will be in a Game 5. Magic Cavs Game 5 as well, tied 2-2. It looks like Minnesota is going to upset Phoenix, so it will just be the 3 East teams on Tuesday, which I think is a good props to the Timberwolves for that. Another Tom Thibodeau team getting through to the second round. But again, I think this Knicks team, it's a performance people are going to remember because after Game 3, people feeling like the Sixers get that big third quarter, and the Knicks, I think, came together and they rallied around a guy like Brunson, who has become a star, is a superstar. I'll say it. He's a superstar right now. Tom Thibodeau continues to say they found out he finishes 5th in Coach of the Year. Players are ticked off about that. They're ticked off they get disrespected by everybody outside of New York, and they rise to the occasion. And I think that's what makes this team so much fun. Now, I kind of wish in the case, Adam, you know this well, with what happened with the Bulls and Derrick Rose, you kind of wish the Knicks had another star so people would maybe give Jalen Brunson more of the calls that some superstars get. I don't feel Brunson seems to get the superstar treatment from officials. Maybe that changes down the line. I always said the Knicks should get another star in a trade just to get Brunson that treatment.
You're asking me on the 12-year anniversary of Derrick Rose blowing out his ACL if I wish they had a second star. Yes. Oh my goodness, yes, I wish they would have had more stars. You can never have too many stars as long as they all mesh together and work together. Unlike what was that Lakers team from 20 years ago where they basically just tried to put together an all-star team and it blew up in their face. But if you have one, you need two. If you have two, you need three. If you have three, man, you're trying to find somebody that can occasionally be a fourth for you. You can never have too many gifted superstars, if for no other reason, so that when they're keying on that guy, you've got the next guy to turn to when it all happens. So, you absolutely want to have that next guy. And Thibodeau is such an old school coach. He could get them to believe in things like the mantra of next man up or next guy has to step up. And it's just, if there's a coach for that, it's Thibodeau.
So this Knicks segment brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky's official jerky to 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. It's all brisket jerky is gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, low in sugar, and high in protein. Planet Jerky, the jerky that is on a whole other planet. Follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky or go to their website, planetjerky.net. So, Adam, as we end this here, you are a busy man here on the network. I'm glad to get you on because I know the Knicks played the Bulls a lot down the stretch, and we said a lot of things about the Bulls that you were not happy with. I did not plan the fact that question was revolved. I did no idea it was the Derrick Rose anniversary, so I apologize for the bad vibes. But, again, you're one of the busiest people on the network, and you have a lot of things to plug, so we might need the last 2 minutes to plug this. But tell listeners how they can check out your shows, when they can check them, how they can follow you on social media.
Absolutely. The shows, I do Chi-Town Weekly, talking all things Chicago sports, Monday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. I will be diving deep into the NFL draft that was this past weekend. Spoiler alert, I loved what the Bears did, though there was one pick that took me a little bit by surprise. You take a look at what the Bears did, and I don't think you'll have any trouble guessing which one that was. And then also on Tuesday evenings, myself and my co-host Zach Puplis, we do the Neutral Zone, talking all things hockey, getting into the playoff time. We're getting a lot more hyper focused, of course, as it is, but all throughout the year we have all kinds of fun talking of course, NHL. We talk minor league. We talk the women's game, the professional women's hockey league that just started up this season. We talk international. We find things from all across the hockey world to talk about, and we have all kinds of fun and laughs along the way. Chi-Town Weekly, you find right here on Spreaker.com is where you can find that. Neutral Zone, we have actually made the transition, and we are on the IE Sports Radio YouTube page, as well as we go live on Instagram and Facebook when the show goes on, and then it all gets uploaded to Spreaker later on after the fact. But the live show is now on the IE Sports Radio YouTube page. You can follow me on social media. I am on Twitter at Adam_Karnik. You can also follow Chicago. I am at IESRC, or the Neutral Zone is at IESR Neutral Zone.
Be sure to check out Adam's work doing some great things, and especially during the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's the go-to hockey show here on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. So be sure to check that out. Remember you can follow me on Twitter at Ricketeer555 at NY State Sports IE. Just a reminder for coming up, we are now off until Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. We'll have another post-game show for you for Knicks Game 5 and Islanders Game 5, which did not think we would have two teams for a show a couple days ago, but we will. And, of course, you can catch the live show every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern here on Network. We'll dive more in the NFL draft then. The Yankees taking 2 or 3 in Milwaukee, a big series in Baltimore this week. So at least Mike Pack can be happy about that because he's not happy that his Caps got swept. Sorry, Mike, but did a great job on the show this week. At least for the post game, we did game 1. Mets lose 2 out of 3 to St. Louis, but Mark Vientos, a big walk-off home run as he's up with Marte on the breathing list. That's a big help to them. So, a victorious game 4's in New York. The Rangers killing penalties and killing the Capitals' playoff hopes as they are now on to round number 2. Just a heck of a performance by the penalty kills at like 15 for 17 on the kill in this series. Just a fantastic job. You never like to get swept, so it's good to see the Islanders at least get a win under their belt. Patrick Waugh gets his first playoff win as Islanders head coach. We'll see how they respond in Game 5 in Carolina. And the Knicks just continuing to defy the odds of everybody outside the city that has got Knicks fever. You got celebrities all over the place. John Starks is going to Philadelphia to watch this team. And you should be watching this team if you don't already. Just a fun group of guys that without 2 of their key players, and Robinson out for the game, Bogdanovich leaving early with a key player off the bench, they just find ways to win. And making it where Philadelphia just gets more and more frustrated that they can't put this team away. A lot to dive into. Thanks, Adam Karnik, for hopping on the show. Hopefully we will get him back on again in the near future, especially during the Rangers' hopefully deep playoff run into maybe a return trip to the Stanley Cup final like Henrik Lundqvist once had. Maybe Igor Shesterkin gets his. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll see you back here hopefully Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Enjoy the fun times in New York. Everybody's winning. There's nothing negative to talk about. And that's fun. Thank you for tuning in here on IE Sports Radio, Direct Feed for all the sports. I'm Ricky Keeler saying enjoy the rest of your Monday. And I'll see you back here Tuesday night, Wednesday morning for Knicks Islanders Game 5.